Good afternoon, y'all. My name is Daniel Alvalle. Most of you do not know who I am. Some of you may know who I am. Um, I would like to share, or I am going to share that I will be running for the mayor of Harrisburg for the 2017-18 election year. Um, but really, that's not what this video is all about. Um, and I want to preface what I'm going to say with saying that this is this video is not meant um, to cause any type of chaos or to make anyone upset or evoke any type of angry feelings. The reason for this video is for us to really understand why do we do what we do? Why is it okay for why does it seem, I'm not saying it's okay, but why does it appear that it's okay when we, within our own race, when we perpetrate a crime against each other, there's, in comparison to when a cop does it, in comparison to when a white person does it, why does it seem that our outrage and our energy towards, for example, we have many vigils and memorials set up throughout Harrisburg of some of these kids and some of these fathers, some of these sons who have had their life taken carelessly by some of their own neighbors and people from our own neighborhoods. And, what our response, and unfortunately, because my condolences go out to all the families, but our response as a community, the extent of the response of our community is for us to set up vigils and to pay our respect in that way. That is not how you pay respect. When your neighbor, your friend, your brother, your son, your father loses their life, loses their life, and there is no good enough excuse. Enough is enough. We stick to the street code of no snitching, and we stick to these street codes that we're not going to tell, and we're losing focus of what's really important to us. All of the killings that have been happening in Harrisburg, and correct me if I'm wrong, if it would have been a white man or if it would have been a police officer, we would have been marching through the streets. It's almost as if there's an entitlement that we could do it to each other, but I dare somebody else, an outsider, come in and do it. I'll be damned if they do that. We're entitled to do it to ourselves, though. And that makes no sense. Unless someone can help me understand why that seems to be the case. 4th of July in Chicago, an astounding number of people were shot. I believe 6 or 7 of them were children. And the outrage towards that was heard a lot less than it was in other cases where police were involved. I'm not saying that one shouldn't be. I'm not saying that the outrage towards police officers shouldn't happen. What I'm saying is that we should bring that same energy and outrage and vigor when it comes to individuals in our own community, when it comes to their lives being taken. We need to come with that same energy. We need to run through these neighborhoods and advocate and march. And we need to do that in our own neighborhoods. Not do it for someone, only for someone who we don't even know personally. They live 200-300 miles away and 3 or 4 states away from us, or sometimes even across the country. Now, granted, these are perfect opportunities for us to make change in the system. But the best opportunity to make change in your own community is to bring that same type of energy, that same type of vigor, that same type of anger and commitment when it comes to the lives and the individuals in your own community. Now, born and raised in Harrisburg, I've seen it. I'm 46 years old. I've seen a lot of it. I've been a part of a lot of it on the negative end of it. And now, for many, many years, being a positive role model in the community. Now, we talk about making changes. We have to stop being very reactive. Let's bring that energy when something happens, and then when it's done and over with, we go back to normal day-to-day living. One of the things I want to say as a professional and as working in this system for many, many years is that we have to throw away that conventional approach. All right, that, hey, if our kids don't have, for example, they don't have anything to do, let's build a community center. Because a lot revolves around the kids. If the kids don't have a positive role model in the household, let's develop a mentorship program. Granted, these are great, but one of the things with a conventional program is they're very simplistic, and what they do is they result in immediate results, but on the short term. We need to start thinking of systems approaches. We need to start thinking of approaches that are sustainable. All right. I'm going to tell you how this is going to happen. One of the things that we miss out on is every 4 years, we worry about these presidents. We worry about who are we going to vote in. What one man do we think is going to change this whole world? And that's one of the most asinine ways of thinking about how do we create change on a local level. If you really want to make change on a local level, on a state level, then we need to start talking about state representatives. We need to start talking about congressmen. We need to start talking about council members. We need to start talking about elected officials, mayors, and things like that. That's where the change is going to happen. That's where we need to be present. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this, and it can be a double-edged sword. But one of the things we have to do is we have to elect people who are going to represent and be a good representative of the demographic. And we failed there many, many, many times. We elect individuals who know absolutely nothing about generational trauma, who know nothing about single parenthood or single fatherhood, or being a single child. They know, and so we need to start making changes not only in the approaches we use, but we need to make changes in who we elect into office and that they truly represent Harrisburg. One of the things I can say right now is that a lot of the elected officials that are in office right now are not representing Harrisburg well. And we know that. And historically that has been what it has been. And we need to make a change. That I heard one video that talked about making changes at home. That's where it needs to happen. And it needs to happen in schools. It needs to happen in these community centers. It needs to happen on a local level, in the community level. It needs to happen with these community leaders. There needs to be more community meetings with community leaders and leaders of the community. I mean, when is this going to happen? Who's going to do this? And when it does happen, do these people represent who we are? Do they have our best interest in mind? So there's a lot when it comes to making changes. It's not, oh, kids are boring, kids are lonely, kids are bored, let's build them a park. That's not the answer. That's not the answer. It's how do we get through to their families? How do we get through in their homes, to their parents, in the schools, if they go to church, in the churches? How do we get elected officials involved? There's a lot that goes through this, but the thing that's going to have to change is how we approach when something serious happens in our own community. We still going to stick to snitches get stitches? Or is we still doing this? 40, 50, 60-year-old adults, parents? Is this really what we're doing? Are we allowing our neighbors, brothers, sisters, are we allowing them to be massacred in our own streets by our own people? We're okay with that? There's no badge. You don't get a reward. There's not an honor badge. You don't get extra tokens for not telling. What happens when it's your family member, when it's your loved one, when it's your son, when it's your daughter? Then what do you do? Is it okay to snitch then? Is it okay to tell then? Or do we want... So, I have a lot of videos that talk about a lot of controversial stuff. But this is the one that's really, really hitting home to me is it okay that when a cop kills a person of color to burn down buildings, burn down businesses, assault people? Is it okay to show our anger then? I think is justified in some cases and to a certain extent. But how much more angry should you be when the person who the crime was committed, when the person who was killed was your neighbor in your own neighborhood? Now you're exposed to it. Now, whether or not you're a direct victim of it, you live in Harrisburg, you're an indirect victim. Are you going to walk those blocks and feel comfortable? We got to think about the impact and how it affects people. Enough's enough, man. We're doing it to ourselves too much. We got to do better as a city. We got to wake up.